Summer Treat Cardigan pattern, we're going to use an 8mm hook and weight 4 yarn. And we're going to start with a foundation half double crochet row. So slip knotting my yarn onto my hook, and we'll chain 3 to start this foundation half double crochet. Next, you're going to want to yarn over, and you're going to insert your hook into the first chain, yarn over, and pull through. Now we'll have 3 loops on our hook. You're going to yarn over, and you're just going to pull through one of the loops, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So you're making basically what is a chain and then a half double crochet based in the same stitch instead of doing 2 different rows. So to start the second one, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that base chain, yarn over, pull through 1 to make that base chain, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops for the half double crochet. Yarn over, insert into that second base chain that we just made, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Again, yarn over, insert into that third base chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3. So you're going to keep going like this. We need an even number of our foundation chain for this pattern. So I have made 60 foundation half double crochets, and I've determined that's about 20 inches. Now if your yarn has stretch like mine does, I would suggest just laying it as flat as possible without stretching it to measure. Once you complete a row, you'll be able to determine if it's too wide for you or if you want to shorten it a little bit. But we're going to continue. So once you've made your even number of stitches, you're going to chain 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to turn. Now we're going to make a double crochet, just a regular double crochet into the second stitch. Yarn over, regular double crochet. Chain 1, skip that, and make another double crochet. So we're just going to continue that across this row. So I am at the end of my double crochet and chain 1 row. I'm going to chain 1, double crochet into the last stitch to end this row, and then I'm going to chain 2 to turn. Now this row will be doing 2 double crochets together across. For this first one, we're just going to do 1 regular double crochet in the first space. Start, chain 1. Now to do 2 double crochets together, you're going to be doing that in each of these spaces. So not stitching into any stitch, but actually stitching through that space. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook, bring up a loop, yarn over, and start a double crochet. Keep that, so don't finish. You wouldn't want to do that right now. We're going to yarn over and insert again. Draw through 2. So now you have the workings of 2 double crochets on your hook. Now you're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops. So that's 2 double crochets together. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to do that again. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, keep that in your hook, start again. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Chain 1. So you're just going to do the same thing all the way across. So I've reached the end of my row. I'm going to make my last 2 double crochets together into that last space. And then I'm going to chain 3 and turn. Now our next row, we're going to do half double crochets and chain 1s. So we are going to go into the space in between the 2 double crochets together. So for my first stitch, I'm going to yarn over to make that half double crochet. Insert my hook into the space, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Chain 1, yarn over, make our next half double crochet, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, chain 1, half double crochet. So you're going to continue like that all the way across. I'll meet you at the end. So I finished my half double crochet and chain 1 row, and I've done my last half double crochet in the top of the turning chain. Now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn, and we're going to start row 5. So for row 5 we're going to do half double crochets all the way across, so in each space, chain 1 space, and in each half double crochet. For the first one here, we're going to do 1 in the half double crochet and 1 in the space, and then I'm just going to continue on. So this will give you 2 half double crochets in each of these little pockets here. So you're going to continue like that, and when you get to the end, I'll meet you there. I finished my row of half double crochets, and I've done my last stitch into the second chain of the turning chain. Now I'm going to chain 4, and I'm going to show you how to start the repeat over. So turn. Now you're going to yarn over, you're going to skip the first half double crochet, and you're going to go into the second one with just a double crochet. Chain 1, skip, double crochet, chain 1, skip, and double crochet. So you're going to continue like that across this row. Then you'll continue the same repeat, starting next with then the 2 double crochets together, the half double crochets and chain 1, and then the row of half double crochets. Now in this section, you want to go with your measurements from the bottom of your back panel up to your armpit, and you are going to want to stop after your row 4. So you're going to stop at this half double crochet and chain 1 space row, because then once we get to the next section, you're going to start with a row of all the half double crochets across the whole sleeve and body panel section. So make as many rows as you want. Remember to stop on row 4, and I'll meet you there. So here is my back panel. I have done from the base to my armhole section, and I've ended off on row 4, so I've completed row 4. And next we are going to start the sleeve section. So you want to determine how many chains you want to do for your sleeves by measuring from your armpit on the underside of your arm down to where you want your sleeves to stop. I've done roughly 3/4 length sleeves, and that's for me 38 chains. I've determined that length by counting one of my worked row 5s. So if you just put a measuring tape over one of those row 5s, you can determine how many chains you want, a little shortcut for gauge. So do that, and we're going to start where we left off on row 4, and we're going to start the chain section. So I determined I needed 38 chains for my sleeve section. Now on this side, it's going to be the beginning of your next row, so you're going to want to chain an additional chain for this side only. So I'll have 39 chains on this side. Now we'll just remove our hook from the side. We're going to turn our work and have the wrong side facing us. And now we're going to add a piece of yarn to this other side so that we can chain the same amount. So I'm going to have 38 chains. We're not going to do an extra on this side. So I've trimmed a piece from another skein. You can do that off the end of your current skein if you'd like. And we're just going to weave that through and tie it on. Doesn't have to be beautiful. So now you're going to start chaining. I'm going to chain the same amount. So I now have 38 chains on this side as well. I've tied off, and we can just trim that. We'll just weave that in later. Now we're going to start from the other side, our working yarn, and we're going to work our row 5. So we're just going to get back into the same process we've been doing. So we're going to half double crochet into all of the chains and all of the spaces across, just like we've done our other work. So we're going to skip that one, half double crochet into the second chain from our hook, and in every other stitch. So once you're done with that, I'll meet you back at the end. Once you've finished your row 5, you'll now have 2 sleeve lengths attached to the top here. So I have one on both sides. And you're going to just continue working the pattern the same way until you get to your armhole depth measurement. So my measurement is about 8, so I'm doing about this much more with this section, just all the way across. You'll do the same thing. So continue the pattern, and I'll meet you there. So I have completed section 2, where we work all the way across both sleeves. So now I have 2 sleeves that are coming off the back panel. Next, we are going to mark off where our neck opening is, and you want to make sure that on row 5 you have an even number on both sides of these stitch markers. So whatever width you want your neck opening to be, I measured and I added a little bit of ease so that it kind of gave it a nicer drape. You're going to want each side to have the same amount and an even number, and then also an even number in the inside. And you notice that the pattern sort of gives you 2 spaces, so that makes it a little easier to tell where an even number is. So now I've marked off my neck measurement, and we're going to work just the left panel. For the next section, you're going to begin working from the end where you had finished your last row 5, and you're just going to work back to the stitch marker and then turn. So you'll work just this part of the sleeve, and then once you have one less row than this part, so you'll start counting, and I have 13 in my section, so I did 12 on the top here. That will fold over, and you'll be able to seam this at the end. So that's where you want to end your sleeve section. And next, we are at the end on this side. So we're going to tie off, and we're going to work just doing the front panel. So this measurement will come in, you'll count over the same amount that we added for our sleeve. So I added 38 chains, so I'll count over 38, and I will just work the 22 to get to my 60. I have a 60 total from the neck opening to the end. So I will just be working 22 half double crochets across. So you can put a stitch marker where your front panel will start, and then you'll just work that short section up the front of the cardigan. And then you'll be able to tie off that side and begin the same process as you did with this side, but again, you'll be starting from this stitch marker here, so you'll tie off and you will add your yarn to this spot, and you'll work this way along the pattern instead of from the sleeve end to that, just so it keeps working and your sides are correct. And you'll repeat the whole thing. So I will meet you back at the front panel, and we'll go from there. So to start the left front panel, I've counted over 38 into my section for my front panel, and that 38 is the amount of chains that I used to add for the sleeve, and now I have 22 left for working the front panel. So I've attached it at 38, and I've chained 3 to start our half double crochet and chain 1 row. So I've chained 3, we'll skip the first stitch, and we'll do a half double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet. So you'll finish that row, and then you'll flip, and then we will just be working over to this section in the next row. So you'll just be working this smaller front panel, and if you fold it over, you can tell that the 2 sleeve corners end up at the armpit space. So keep working that row. I'll meet you back there just to show you the turn. So I've finished my row 1 in this section, and I've turned and I've almost finished row 2. So I've done my second to last double crochet together, and then I'm going to chain 1, another 2 double crochets together, and finish. So I finished in that spot, and now I'm just going to be working back and forth up this section. So basically follow the same pattern, and you'll just work the total amount of rows starting from your neck section. So you want to count from here. You'll want to make the same amount of rows that you made on your back panel. So make sure that you only do your front panel however many more rows you need, and then you will tie off. So I'll meet you back there. So I finished the front panel here, and I folded it over, and you can see I have tied off this end, and we will be seaming that up after we're done with the other panel. But yeah, I've done the same amount of rows obviously on the front and the back, so you want to make sure you end with the same rows. And then we're going to start our right sleeve. So I've attached my yarn at my stitch marker, the inner stitch marker, because we're going to want to work along the row this way out to the edge of the sleeve, so to continue the pattern working the same way. So we're going to start with our row 1 of the right sleeve section. I'm going to skip 1, half double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip, half double crochet into the next, and just continue like that across. So for this section, you're going to work again, just I have 13 rows for my first part of my sleeve, so I'm just going to do 12 more rows, and then we will stop and do the front panel. So I will meet you after I've done my 12 additional rows at 60 wide. So I have completed the front half of my right sleeve. So I've got 13 on the bottom and I've got 12 on the top. now you will add your stitch marker. I've counted over the same number that I had for the additional sleeve section, so 38, and I put my stitch marker there, and then I have an even number on the left side of my stitch marker so that the front panel works the correct way, and that'll be the same as your left panel, of course. So add that stitch marker in, and then we will start working the front panel. So I have chained 3 and I've turned my work to begin the right front panel. I'm going to skip that first half double crochet, and you'll half double crochet into the second, chain 1, skip a half double crochet, make another half double crochet, chain 1, and you'll just continue like that until you meet up with the stitch marker. So you work the same way that you worked the previous front panel, just that smaller size, and we will meet you at the end and we'll start the seaming process. So once you're done with your right panel, you're going to flip the cardigan so that the front panels are facing in, so you want it to work at this inside out, and align your rows and attach some stitch markers along both the sleeves and the side of the panels, and we're just going to do one continuous seam, so that makes it a little easier. You're just going to start from the bottom corner of the panels. So attach your yarn to the corner of both of your panels. So I've got a little tie in just an extra piece of yarn, and I've got a tapestry needle to sew these together. We're just going to whip stitch along both the side panels and along the sleeve. I think that's the easiest way. If you want to do a different type of seam, you certainly can, and there's plenty of other things to do, but we'll start by inserting your hook into both sides of the panels, and we're just going to sew together. So keep along your panels and you'll get just little loops, and it's pretty invisible. Keep that tail out of there. Keeping the lines even, so you want to make sure that you're stitching into, so I just completed stitching into this 2 double crochet, and I'm going to make sure I'm keeping, you want those lines to be the same around the cardigan when you're done, so just keep doing that. It's really simple and it's pretty quick. And then once you get to the sleeve section, you're just going to make sure you start on the same stitch. So I will meet you back there when I'm done with my seam here. So I'll meet you up at this corner. So I finished my side seam, as you can see, and I'm up at this corner. So we just want to make sure when we start that we are aligned with the last stitch that we need. So you want to make sure that that corner is perfectly aligned, just so when you get out to the end here, you're definitely on the same track, and that's where the stitch markers help. So I'm just going to keep doing the same thing up the sleeve. And we have the last worked row 5 on our one side, and then you have a chain on the other side. So I'm just worked through both loops of the last worked row and the one loop that is showing of the chain, and that gives a solid base, I think. So you'll just keep going like that until you meet the end of the sleeve. Then next we will add the neckline ribbing and the shell border for both the sleeves and the base. So work the rest of that and I will meet you at the neckline. We're going to start our neckline, so either pick up where you left off on the right panel or attach some new yarn to the right panel corner. And we're going to make a row of single crochet up and around on both sides. And you're going to make sure that you work one single crochet into the half double crochet and half double crochet chain 1 rows. So one both of those, and then 2 single crochets in the 2 double crochet together row and the double crochet row. So you'll have 2 rows that you just do 1 and 2 rows that you do 2. And then you're going to make sure that you do the same number up and down both sides. So it doesn't have to be an even or an odd number, but just make sure that's the same number so that the ribbing is even. And then you'll just do 1 in the top here in each half double crochet. So for the ribbing and the borders shell rows, you're going to use 1 millimeter smaller hook. So I'm using a 7 millimeter hook because I used an 8 on the rest of the body. So I've drawn up a loop and chained a single crocheted 1 into that first half double crochet row. Now my next row on the back panel is the double crochet row, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the side of that. This is a 2 double crochet together, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets into that. Then a half double crochet row, I'll just do 1, and this half double crochet row, I will just do 1. So continue like that along the entire thing, and again, just make sure you count to ensure that you are keeping the same number when you're done. Oops. 2, 1. So you see how that lays flat, little tail. And so continue like that, and I will meet you back at the other end. So now that you've finished your single crochet row, you're going to chain out from the bottom left corner as many as you want for the ribbing, and using that smaller needle, make sure it's an even number, but you can do a wider ribbing if you'd like. I'm going to do chain 4, and then we're just going to single crochet into this row. So skip the first chain and single crochet into the next 3 for me, if it's more for you, down to the base of the chain. Now to anchor that ribbing, so we want to make sure we're anchoring it along the edge. So we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch along the base of the sweater. So that anchors it. Now to move on to the next, you're going to also slip stitch into the next single crochet border. So that is how you're going to move up the ribbing line. Next, you're going to turn so that the back is facing you. I always wrap the yarn around the outside here, so it's around the back. Keep that taut, and you're going to just do a single crochet back loop only into, so you're going to skip those 2 slip stitches, and you're just going to work into the 3 or however many you have. So you're always going to skip the slip stitches. And so I'm going to pick up just the back loop of my 3rd single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet into that and the next one in the back loop only. Then at the edge of the border, I always do just a single crochet into the entire stitch. So you'll do in the body of the ribbing, you'll do the back loop only. On the outside, you'll just do a regular crochet, single crochet, then chain 1, and you'll turn back. regular single crochet into the first, and then back loop only into the rest of your ribbing. I just have 2. Now we're going to anchor that again, so the next unworked single crochet is there, so we're going to slip stitch and then slip stitch in the next one as well. So 2 slip stitches to anchor that ribbing. So you're just going to continue like that around the entire neckline. And it just finishes off, I love ribbing, I think it finishes off sweaters and cardigans really nicely. So you'll do that, and then I will meet you to start the base shell border, and we'll do the sleeves as well. So now that you completed your neckline ribbing, we're going to start the bottom ribbing. You'll want to attach your yarn to the corner here, or if you ended up needing to make 1 extra row there, you can just start from the end. We're going to skip the first stitch, which in this ribbing is a smaller little stitch, and you're going to make 5 double crochets into the next stitch to make the shell. So 1, 5. So that makes your first shell. And there, it's a nice little touch. Then you're going to skip the next stitch and you'll slip stitch into that last stitch. Now we're going to skip the next and we're going to go into the next one for 5 double crochets. So this is a stitch multiple of 4, so with the even numbers around the bit body, you should be able to complete the shells correctly. So 5 double crochets for your shell, skip that, slip stitch into the next, skip, and 5 double crochets. So it gives a nice border, nice finish on the cardigan. So continue around and you'll do your last shell into that other ribbing section, and then we will start the sleeves. So to start our sleeve border, you're going to attach your yarn on the left side of your seam. So you get a row of half double crochets, your seam, and then the other row of half double crochets. So attach it to the left side there. And then we're going to do a row to start with of just single crochets around the outside of the sleeve so that you can have an easier base to stitch into. And just like we did with the neckline, you're going to do 2 single crochets into each double crochet and 2 double crochet together rows, and then you are going to just do 1 single crochet into the half double crochet and chain 1 row, as well as just the all half double crochet row. So I've attached my yarn and I pulled up a loop, and I've got my first double crochet row, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets into that, 2 into the side of this 2 double crochet together, and then 1 and 1. Now remember, when you get to your half, you have folded over and you've changed the pattern. So just a reminder that sometimes these double crochet rows and half double crochet rows look similar. And make sure you do flip that. So you're gonna have a double crochet come up first and then the half double crochet after that. So just plan ahead. So I'll do 2 more. 2, 1, 1. So continue like that and meet back at the end. So I've completed the single crochet row and I've slip stitched back to join into that first stitch. Now we're going to start the shell border the same way we began the bottom. So we're going to skip our first stitch here and we're going to do 5 double crochets shell into the next. Skip that next stitch, slip stitch into the next, skip another stitch, and 5 more shells. So you'll just continue around and you'll meet back at that area, and you can skip the last stitch if you do end up having an extra stitch. Just can seam them together there. So I'll meet you there. Alright, so I've slip stitched back into the first slip stitch that I made and I've tied off and you're done. Thank you so much for joining me to make the Summer Treat Cardigan. I hope you enjoy your cardigan and tag me at pcrochet when you're done making it. I'd love to see it.